Welcome to NYC Now, your source for local news in and around New York City. From WNYC, it's Monday, October 27th. Here's the Midday News from Michael Hill.
It was a busy first weekend of early voting. WNYC's Bridget Bergen has this exclusive analysis of turnout so far.
5 times the number of people voted early compared to the same period 4 years ago. And slightly more than half of the voters were boomers and Gen X, so voters aged 55 and up. Pace University political scientist Laura Taman says the results are good news for the boomer in the race, Andrew Cuomo.
You'd rather be the Cuomo campaign. This will definitely give them some encouragement.
Turnout so far contrasts with the Democratic primary, which Assemblymember Zohran Mamdani won handily thanks to younger voters. Taman says that leaves a question.
Are the young people who were so excited going to come back? We'll have to see.
Early voting runs through November 2nd. Election Day is November 4th.
The legendary Rockefeller Center Christmas Tree has been selected. This year's tree is a Norway spruce from East Greenbush, New York. That's just outside of Albany. Rockefeller Center says the tree will be cut down on November 6th and then arrive in Midtown 2 days later. It will be decorated with 50,000 festive lights and a big old star on the top. The tree will be lit during a live broadcast on December 3rd and will stay on display until mid-January. Then it will be donated to become lumber for the nonprofit Habitat for Humanity. The New York Department of Environmental Conservation says air quality is good today and is expected to stay that way. Mid-50s right now with sunshine in the city. Sunny and 56 for a high today with a calm wind. Mostly clear, low 40s tonight. Then tomorrow, sunny, mid-50s, but watch out for those strong winds.
Stay tuned for more after the break.
New York City's election is next week, and early voting is underway. This election will decide more than just the city's next mayor. Voters will also be asked about council races, district attorney races, judges, and ballot initiatives. So this week, we'll be talking through some of those. WNYC's Rosemary Midday joins us now to explain why the first ballot initiative asked voters in New York City about an Olympic facility 200 miles away. Hi, Rosemary. Tell us about this.
Hi, Michael. First, the facility is called Mount Van Hoevenberg. It's an Olympic sports complex, and it's really important for competitive sports. It's just over 1,000 acres. It hosted the 1932 and 1980 Winter Olympics. And it's also important because it has the oldest bobsled track in North America and the second oldest in the world. And it's located in Lake Placid. It's on about 1,000 acres. And it has hiking trails, cross-country skiing. I've gone cross-country skiing there before. And it's a place that people in the Adirondacks and outside of the Adirondacks come to use for winter sports.
So what exactly would New York voters be authorizing or rejecting under this proposal?
Well, this proposal is more of a mea culpa. For decades, the facility has been cutting down trees in protected forest preserve that's supposed to remain untouched. And they've done this to maintain and expand their facilities. And the state-run Olympic Authority that manages the facility has a track record of illegally clearing protected parkland. Recently, they got in trouble for clearing forest land illegally for the World Cup mountain bike races at Whiteface Mountain. Essentially, voters are retroactively giving permission for the facility to expand into 323 acres of forever wildland. And that means state-protected land. And they're allowing them to expand and improve its cross-country skiing trails and its biathlon facility. In exchange, the state will purchase a minimum of 2,500 acres of forest in another part of the Adirondacks as a kind of land swap. There's no timeline or exact location for the purchase right now.
Why do they need voters' permission?
Just to zoom out a little, Adirondack Park is the largest publicly protected park in the continental United States. If you took Yellowstone, the Everglades, Glacier, and Grand Canyon National Parks and smash them all together, they would still be smaller than Adirondack Park, which is in total 6 million acres. and it's state constitutionally protected. And according to the Forever Wild laws, only New York State voters can authorize cutting down a single tree in the Adirondack Preserve.
Where do local groups in the Adirondack stand on these questions?
Local groups such as the Adirondack Council support the measure. Other Olympic state-run facilities, such as Whiteface Mountain Ski Resort, already have special exemption to clear surrounding publicly owned land to maintain its trails and structures. And so that's similar to what Mount Van Hoevenberg has been doing illegally for decades.
WNYC's Rosemary Midday, thanks so much for this. Wow.
Thank you, Michael.
Last week, federal officers detained 9 men selling counterfeit goods on Canal Street. WNYC's Stephen Nesson reports they were targeting an underground economy that has persisted in lower Manhattan for centuries.
It was unusually quiet in Chinatown last Thursday, less than 48 hours after a federal immigration raid made headlines. The sidewalks here are typically crowded with vendors hawking knockoff name-brand purses, watches, and sneakers. But a little after 1 in the afternoon, I spot just one guy with a small stash of bags. He packed up and moved along after a few minutes.
I was actually kind of glad that it wasn't like that, because then you don't have people like haggling you in your face.
That's 40-year-old tourist Stephen Pedro from Dallas, Texas. Before the raid, though, Pedro partook in Canal Street's notorious black market. He bought some knockoff purses for his wife.
I don't make thousands of dollars to come and buy my wife things like that. The quality's good. You get a lot for your money.
There's a long tradition of selling counterfeit luxury items in Lower Manhattan. Rutgers University historian Jack Chen says even in the port city's earliest days, cheap porcelain was sold to folks who couldn't afford the high-end stuff from China.
Knockoffs that were made in Europe. Knockoff porcelains were attempted to be made in the U.S. as well.
Just like today, where luxury purses can be found for the bargain bin price of $50 or less.
In some ways, Chinatown now is playing out the history of the city.
Luxury brands have been trying to shut down this black market since at least the 1980s. They hired private investigators to track down vendors.
They would go in disguises and things like that. And they would go into each store and look to see which stores were selling what that day. And then they would call it in.
That's Rob Holmes. His dad was a private investigator hired to be on the lookout for knockoff luxury watches around the Canal Street area. Holmes is a PI himself. He says he's usually hired to root out fake jerseys and sneakers. Kenneth Ma is a second-generation Chinese-American who owns Chinatown Optical on Mott Street. He says he's glad to see something being done about the street vendors, which he says doesn't help the neighborhood's reputation.
It's a really bad look, I could say, for both New York City and for Chinatown especially, to be known as the counterfeit center of New York. And we have some of the best services, haircuts, bubble tea, ramen, noodles, wontons, whatever, dumplings, optical shops in the world. So I want to be known for that and not for counterfeiting.
Ma wishes city officials would have reined in the street vendors sooner and says he doesn't like the targeting and detainment of immigrants by federal officials. Stephen Nesson, WNYC News.
Thanks for listening. This is NYC Now from WNYC. Check us out for updates every weekday, 3 times a day for the latest news headlines and occasional deep dives. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.